Hey guys, welcome back to Pillbox Movies. I'm Hank, and today we're going to be watching the 1971 neo-western, anti-western McCabe and Mrs. Miller. This is a film by director Robert Altman. Robert Altman, famous for such films as Nashville, MASH, The Long Goodbye, previously featured on this channel with his film California Split. This was around the time that Altman was making his most internationally renowned, critically beloved pieces, MASH and Nashville in particular. So yeah, I've been wanting to watch this movie for a long time and figured this was a good enough reason. And hopefully you've seen the movie or you've been wanting to, so you can join in on the fun. And before we begin, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe for more old, obscure, and art house films. This is also one of the most noteworthy films shot by Vilmos Zismond, Czech cinematographer, but he's known for his collaborations with Wim Wenders, among others.
It's hard to hold the hand of anyone
Hungarian.
For the sky.
But he shot such films as Blowout, Deer Hunter, and Deliverance, huh? Ooh, he shot Obsession. I didn't know that. That grease look of Vilmos. I remember this a lot in Obsession. Obsession has a lot of kind of hazy look to it that kind of gives it its dreamlike quality.
It was just some Joseph looking for a manger.
Is he wearing a gun?
Sure didn't stay very long.
Nice costume design choice. If you're having everybody wear similar colors and similar fabrics, give your lead a bowler hat. And have him look like Warren Beatty. Check to see the cards are straight.
Yesterday was $2.
Well, look,
I love that spot.
I share your profits.
That was a nice lighting change.
Tell you what, you give these boys a $2 bottle on me, and then I'll stand my own losses, and you can make your profit on the whiskey.
There's this aspect to Robert Altman films that I in my, I don't know, suburban ignorance will never understand, which is like the negotiations, being able to like talk shop and talk numbers in a quick rate. Maybe if you're like a person who likes to barter or go down to the marketplace a lot, you're used to this kind of lingo, but for me it's like, it's going too fast.
Let's make it a dime.
I'd like to make a 5-card stud with a 3-bet roof on the card. And then maybe we get to say 15 cents on an open pair and the last card.
See all this stuff, and I think part of it may be what I'm guessing is the intentional crunchiness of the audio. The dialogue is really buzzy and reverberated.
Close that goddamn door.
Evening, Reverend.
Kind of aspect of Robert Altman films, because they're such large ensemble pieces, they create the opportunity for scenarios or situations where communion is held, the different ways in which people entice and entrance others to gather in a group, to form a collective, to have like an open air for dialogue, whether it be a concert, a gambling hall, or a bar, or a dinner table like in Gosford Park.
McCabe. How do you know that? You said his name was McCabe. You didn't say your name was McCabe when you come in here.
I didn't say it now, you did. I'm a good man.
Yeah, I love the kind of characters that are in a Robert Altman film. The kind that needs to present as honorable or courteous by standing up to take your glass for you, but when you walk away, will drink it for himself.
Yes, sir, that's McCabe, all right.
John McCabe. He's the man that shot Bill Roundtree.
I never heard of him either.
Tried taking a pee, shot him. He's got a big rep.
What do you think if
This is definitely like pushing the limits on
left the mustache?
on underexposing and underlighting.
Many chinks around here?
And just turn over a rock.
It's super, super dark.
You try the handle of the road, it opens. Do not be afraid, it's you, my love, you who are
Good pull, getting a lettered code. I don't usually think of Altman as being like a presenter of singular images or tableaus, but that was a very nice image. I think Ziesemund, as a lot of cinematographers do, but for his time and for his geography, grew up shooting or came up shooting documentaries, and so got a feel for kind of on-the-street cinematography. Shooting like protesters in Hungary in the 60s. I saw that documentary a long, long time ago. In the 50s. The 1956 Hungarian Revolution.
Well, we had to use the canvas for the tents up on the roof because of the rain.
Is he setting up a cat house?
We weren't lovers like that, and besides, it would still be all right.
I think I buzzed my cherry.
Oh, beautiful light coursing through that glass.
I have to go to the pot and I don't think I can hold it.
All the sisters of mercy, they are not departed.
All men have dreams. All men fail to realize the administrative duties that are related to those dreams.
Partners is when I come up here to get away from. Sometimes you can't have things your own way. Sometimes you got to make a deal. Deals I don't mind.
Warren Beatty is one of those good-looking guys who works really hard to convince you that he's not good-looking.
I take a funny kind of liking to you, you some bitch. And I
hate that.
Damn it, I'll bet it is hard.
Lion's Mane Christie.
Ida!
The biggest head of hair you ever did see.
Ida, it's me, Bartley Coyle.
Ida, I think this is for you.
Oh, are you Ida? Well, here, jump off. I'll help you. Go ahead.
Aw, Shelley.
You John McCabe? Mrs. Miller, come from Fairport to see you.
What? Don't you see nothing different?
Ah, he shaved.
No.
The fucking callbacks and references in Robert Altman films, they go really far back. You have to be paying attention to all this kind of ancillary dialogue.
I'll have 4 eggs fried, some stew, and I want some strong tea.
Hardy woman.
Tea, right.
I like that.
I'll just have my double whiskey and a raw egg.
Hey.
It's unfair how beautiful people attract each other in movies.
You know, if you want to make
It's unfair.
a fancy dude, you ought to wear something besides that cheap Jockey Club cologne.
This is exactly what Robert Altman would do. You get Julie Christie in your movie, just shoot a scene 3 minutes long of her just munching. Rob. Just one of those idiosyncrasies of great directors. Great and bad. They can't change their sense of humor.
Now, this is all you've got to do. Put up the money for the house. I'll do all the rest. I'll look after the girls, the business, the expenses. You can make yourself at least double the money you make on your own.
What makes you think I ain't thought of that
I
already?
love how industrious Robert Altman characters are.
How do you know when a girl
It's like watching Ghostbusters or something. You just don't get as much an opportunity in modern movies and mainstream movies to find characters that have so much motivation and will. You find it in these Altman characters in the dregs, in the Outer Rims.
No, I haven't got a lot of time to sit around and talk to a man who's too dumb to see a good proposition when it's put to him. Do we make a deal or don't we?
The one of them girls that they were bringing up was an authentic Chinese princess.
Do you think that's true what they say about Chinese girls?
Poor shit. If that was true, their legs would fall off. Oh, come on. It's true. Sure it is. You see, if you notice,
What did they
eyes,
say?
The way they slant, and the way they stick up at the side. Well, that's true for their whole.
I kind of love this interplay that the men are like really talkative but static, and the women are completely silent but thriving in action. It's a beautiful juxtaposition. I mean, that is a great, great landscape shot. Unfathomable. Lubeski is quaking.
I paid for a bathhouse I don't need. I paid for transportation. I paid for towels and linens and enema bags.
I say we, Mr. McCabe, because you think small. You think small because you're afraid to think big. I'm telling you, you have to spend money to make money. You want to spend the rest of your life...
It's true. But as a poor person, the thought that goes through your head is also you need to spend money in order to lose money.
Money and pain. Pain.
Money and pain. It's a movie about filmmaking. About any commercial endeavor. You're not selling sex. You're selling a fantasy.
Girl, she's going to be in a minute.
A couple of gimpers come in the saloon tonight and offered to buy me out. A whole spread.
Who'd do a daft thing like that?
They Vito Corleone me. They talked to me from 2 different angles, and I didn't get the vibe.
I played it just smart as a possum. I think your share's gonna be, well, let me see.
Think.
What do you say? You're a funny little thing.
The most curious seduction scene I've watched in a while. Maybe they have feelings for each other, maybe they don't, but she is under the influence of opium, he's drunk off of his tar, and he's paying her for the pleasure.
Those other 2, they left last night. Oh, you handled them beautifully. They weren't dealing with no tin horn.
And I like how, like, the small timer commends him for his negotiating, which, like, puts a chill down his spine. He's like, oh no, if I'm being congratulated by an idiot, I must have made a bad move. She's gonna go work at the cat house. God grant me as frizzy hair as Julie Christie. I love the water and the rainfall in this movie. I don't really know what it is, but it adds a kind of patina to the lighting, to the sound design. It adds to, like, both the realism but also the dreamlike quality of it. That the story in which this is happening all feels like very kind of enclosed. And look what it does to the lighting. Just everything's bouncing. With a movie with so little light, the water and the rainfall adds such a good opportunity for what little light there is to kind of reflect off of everything.
See, the thing is, it don't mean nothing. You never know, you might even get to like it. Well, you do this to pay for your bed and board, too. Only you get to keep a little extra for yourself, and you don't have to ask nobody for nothing.
I'm not the biggest admirant of Shelley Duvall, but I do love the way that Robert Altman loves her, and is clearly fascinated by her. The lens through which Robert Altman observes Shelley Duvall makes me better understand the qualities she has and the kind of idiosyncrasies she has.
I'll be with you in a minute. All you gotta do is to give the bugger a box of this stuff, put him down the hole.
It's a tense-ass scene.
And there's his ink.
You get the feeling that the Coens copped this for Ballad of Buster Scruggs. He's got a long cigar.
Yeah, but how much did you ask them for?
Well, we never got around to that.
14,000.
8,000? $8,000. Oh, 7,500.
You went very far apart, were you?
He kind of looks like Bruce Campbell.
I'm trying to tell you. You see,
It's an awful small amount of money to lose your life over.
Well, the fact is, should I be willing to make a deal for $62.50 if
Beatty definitely has this kind of early Brad Pitt or Johnny Depp characteristic to him, where he yearns desperately to be a character actor and to play against his type. It lends to some interesting choices, I'll say, but perhaps of this time period, contrasting that with like Dustin Hoffman and Al Pacino, like true character actors, I'm left a little cold by Warren Beatty personally.
Well, look, that's just what I'm trying to tell you. This here deal can be made.
Not with me.
Not looking good! Not looking good! But he is looking good in that raincoat. Wow. He can't help it. Warren Beatty's an attractive man.
Got to stick his hand in the fire and,
McCabe.
And see what he's made out of.
Delusional.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about busting up these trusts and monopolies. That's what I'm talking about.
You've been sold. You've been sold a bridge.
Somebody's got to protect the small businessman from these big companies.
I love this kind of transposition of a Western narrative. The idea that a man must be a man, and there's a time when a man must stand up for himself and his principles. And taking this and put this on top of a man who has no principles and is only standing up for himself out of an unrealistic sense of self-aggrandizement.
They'll get you, McCabe. They'll get you.
He's like so unnecessarily foolish in this one very important moment. And it's kind of flipping on its head, this idea of a man with a sense of self, like the hero of the West.
Now, little lady, ain't nothing gonna happen to me.
Don't you give me any of that little lady shit. I...
Constance, you're the best looking woman I ever saw. And I ain't never tried to do nothing but put a smile on your face.
I'm at a weird crossroads with this, because I don't know how to explain it. I don't think that Warren Beatty is quite charismatic enough for this role, but that's also a bit the point of the role, is that the character isn't charismatic and is self-inflating and delusional. But that's also Robert Altman's other male leads, and they still possess a kind of charisma that buoys that in spite of itself. I don't think Elliot Gould would be right in this movie, but his energy would be. I love how static this feels. It might just be my prejudice, my honest prejudice, honestly, against Warren Beatty and against this kind of specific leading man who is allowed to navigate through all of these great filmmakers and do major studio films simultaneously and basically get to have it all, when so few of them possess quite special gifts in acting alone, in acting beyond their looks. They have great minds. Some of them have great impact on Hollywood as an industry and as a curation of art and entertainment. But just solely in terms of their acting, there are so many more performers I find that are interesting, that are more interesting for me, and fill out a role in ways that I wouldn't expect and surprise me. And so I guess I would say that I'm not quite as surprised and interested in what Beatty is doing with this, and to a certain extent Christie too, but I think her role is a bit underwritten in comparison. But I feel like Beatty's making all of the right choices, and it's coming off as less interesting. And I would want to know what, in particular, Altman saw in Beatty. What was the spark for him, or if Beatty was like a smart producerial choice in order to get the film financed and in order to get it produced and distributed. Is that snow fake? It's hard to capture snow on film, so I'm wondering if it was added in post. And it's also really, really hard to get a good day of like the perfect right amount of snow. This is definitely like, I'd say it's simultaneously one of Altman's like most sardonic but also grim features. It has a very, very black sense of humor to it, but it's also serious in a way that I don't really see in some of his other films, especially of this era. I mean, he's done serious films. He did Streamers during this time, and Fool for Love, and et cetera, but... Ooh, is he gonna snipe him? I don't think he has the right gun for that. House of Fortune. Symbolism and whatnot. And we've already established that he's a losing gambling man. The Reverend came to help him out. Okay.
This is the house of God.
I've been out there trying to kill me.
Get out.
Ah, his fucking hand. Just gotta have his breakfast. I wonder if Cowboy Bebop was like directly referencing McCabe and Mrs. Miller with the prairie oysters. It's a weird kind of insomnia kind of reversal and dichotomy where all the happy moments played out in darkness and the violence and sordidness is brought to light by the light and by the snow. It's really interesting also that they consider this an anti-western. I mean, I get the sensation that Altman's going for the same things as a western. He wants to inspire the same sense of suspense, the same kind of like rooting for a good guy and a bad guy, the same kind of like binaries. In a way, I think this kind of like affirms the, if not the rigid form of a western, then the kind of feelings they inspire. Like I think that Altman is trying to conjure the feelings of what he feels when he watches a western. I mean, getting shot in the leg is funny.
Jesus Christ, the church is on fire.
Midnight Mass ending. Ending explained. Okay, so he got a gut wound. Shoot him through the window. Maybe Altman is transforming this narrative a little and showing that there's like no gallantry in a duel, that it's like a coward getting the jump on these assassins. But intellectually, again, there is this interesting contrast between the portrayal of both the Western and also, in some ways, Altman's fixation with the rugged individual versus the kind of systemic advantages of a community, like the like McCabe as like the town's leading citizen, as the man of industry, is portrayed in this kind of very selfish land negotiation and murder plot, while the townsfolk are prioritizing what's important with the church not burning down. With the Derringer. That's funny. I get that joke. In terms of Altman's dichotomies, I think this is one of the strongest stories he's telling about the individual experience versus the community or communal experience. This perhaps presents the strongest contrast. Because I think Altman loves his cads and his tricksters and his ne'er-do-wells. I don't think I quite see him position them so, like, wrong in comparison to the ideas and the functions and the works of the community, the Combine, as strongly as in this film. This looks like a brutal project to work on, honestly. In terms of weather, I can't imagine what this crew and these actors had to go through. Once Upon a Time in America. Add this to the pantheon of movies that ends with a character staring in an opium haze. Cool. Great. Amazing. Alright. Great soundtrack, great cinematography, nice story, good direction. I want to say from the outset, we'll try and keep this one quick. I'll say from the outset that this was probably my least favorite of Altman's films that I've seen, but if only because it's serving a different function, I think, than the other movies of his that I've seen, and the functions that it serves, I've already kind of had my fill with in terms of other media. For me, this is kind of like a women in the window kind of situation where I appreciate intellectually a lot of the ideas that this movie is posing. I just happen to have seen them in other things. So ideas like the industry men coming into the newly developed town to buy out the stakeholders of the mining villages and stuff, that's like been covered in Deadwood for me. I know Deadwood came after, but and the kind of the sex workers coming in and legitimizing the town has also been covered in Deadwood, and some other stuff that I've seen, like the humanization of sex workers and stuff, is covered in, you know, Belle de Jour and House of Innocence. So while I think this is like intellectually one of his most interesting and presents a lot of ideas that would be kind of radical. Oh, and also the idea that all of these kind of different aspects to this town, the gambling hall, the whorehouse, the church, that none of them have like a moral high ground over the other. The idea that a town is like a multifaceted organism, and all of these different town centers are valences of that organism, that they each perform a civic function and are kind of culturally neutral. They all provide like a benefit, and they all present a negative. That's a really interesting idea. Yeah, I want to see if, you know, it's that era. I want to see. Yeah. He originally offered this to Gould and got Beatty instead. He originally wanted this for Elliot Gould and Patricia Quinn, which would have been a very different kind of feel to it. But I understand why he went with a kind of Hollywood cast in comparison. I think it suffers a little bit as a result, but it's still like a great American film. Just doesn't happen to be my taste right now. And not even like my taste is in it's a bad movie. Like, not my taste as in the other movies of his that I've seen are so amazing, like MASH and Nashville and California Split and what's the Raymond Carver one? God damn it, Shortcuts. But yeah, a cool movie about community, about industry and enterprise, about chance, a lot of it about chance, and like what you're willing to wager. I liked in the end that he had the Derringer. So yeah, that was McCabe and Mrs. Miller. Have you seen it? What do you think? Leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already for more old, obscure, and art house films. And until next time, keep watching good movies. Leonard Cohen, GOAT. Goated status, GOAT.